G'day, welcome everybody. Hi Lynn. How's it going? I hope you're well. Going to the doctor. I hope it goes okay. I really do. You don't need you don't need anything else going on right now. I know, Lynn. So creating light for you always. G'day, yeah, love. Um, Love you all too. Anyway, I wrote a little introduction for this one, so I'm going to read it out, and then we'll read Desert's introduction because it's better, and we'll get on with the program. Okay, welcome to another forbidden installment of the Forbidden History Chronicles with NinjaCat and Dezert-Owl. For any new listeners, Desert is the only person I've ever seen to cover the entire intricately planned deception in this world from the very beginning of time itself that we've been under, nice and neatly on one piece of paper. Well done, Desert. Okay, so I'm just going to read Desert's introduction and show you what I'm talking about. The signs of... Sorry? Yeah?
Yeah, I just had a report that all the audio is low. In other words, somebody's listening with everything maxed out, and your overall audio is low. So I don't know if that's the case with Lynn, but she can maybe let you know. And if you just want to know that
Yeah, I'm looking at the...
need to be maxed out, all of your devices need to be on maximum.
Yeah, I've got everything on maximum now. I just turned the micro... Like...
Okay. So there was some down, there was some that was not full.
The microphone wasn't, like, completely... was almost. And it sounded okay when I tried it out before. But I've just turned it up now, so it should be okay. Everyone's saying volume is low, yeah.
Yeah, all right,
Sorry, guys.
We're engineering a new mic.
Yeah, got a new microphone. Yeah. So...
We're live, we're doing it.
We are. With a new microphone. Teething problems. Yeah. I hope they can hear you okay, because I don't think I can get the phone any closer to the microphone. Anyway, I'll read out this introduction and see how we go. It sounds like you're whispering. Okay. I'll move closer. Low. Okay. It looks okay. It looks okay on the... There's a delay. It looks okay on the little sound thing now on the screen. It looks fine. So we'll see how we go. I'll start reading. Okay. Sorry, just looking at the comments. Signs of the times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time, who they are, and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world, about who the giants really were, the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the Earth-based mist-nomad UFOs, which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to me, because Desert has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology, and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. He discusses the ultimate in mind control and ancient art and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, and print media, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it. But they are cleverly leaving us in the dark, hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water, to tainted vaccines, to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, but they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl. Sums it up very nicely.
Almost a decade ago.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and it doesn't need to be changed, because that's what's going on all the time, has been for all the time. Yeah. So welcome, Desert. How's it going?
Thank you. It's going. The world stinks. I saw an interesting 1-hour documentary on Paradise, California last night by this lady who I think lived up there. She's got, I think, an Australian accent or an English accent or maybe South African, but she did excellent drive-through for a few days and did a couple hours of just showing all the streets, how everything was burned. Then she did a 1 hour, and it was good. She didn't come at it with anything negative. She tried to show, how these were volunteer firemen. So I think most of them were, doing the best that they could. Although we know that, the way the occult societies control everything is the police chief, the sheriff, the fire chief, and their key people typically will be Freemasons, and therefore any information that could come out that would be relevant to exposing this sinister agenda to destroy our world would be kept under wraps, and that's how they do it, because it is a military clique, and under orders to lower degrees have to follow orders of the higher degree, or they get their buried at the low sand and rough sand, low tide, and have their throats slit. That's their oaths that they take. So it's not it's a little tongue in cheek, but of course if they don't follow what they're told to do, then of course their life will be miserable, and very often they'll destroy the other Mason's life if they don't follow orders. So it's pretty well controlled. And but I think, and then I saw another documentary after that. The bottom line is, if there were tens of thousands of people, the number is up of 50,000. So if you had tens of thousands of people that were displaced, you'd have a bunch of them camping out at the entrances to paradise. And there is no people camping out at the entrances of paradise. There's no people in mass displaced, and it was reported that some were near homes when they exploded, and so the energy that was coming down, naturally, if you're in a house and it's being hit by a ray, some type of energy ray, it's going to knock you out. You'll be lucky if you escape, perhaps. And so it may be true. This is what I was trying to listen for, to hear. So what I try to do is figure things out, for myself. And it appears that maybe most of the people were caught off guard in their homes and killed, since obviously these fires were started by some type of energy beam. So mass genocide, they get away with it right in public, right in front of everybody, but it's controlled. Go figure. Why would they have military contingents then surround the town with some type of machine guns on top of their equipment? Who are they going to shoot? What's the secret operation going on here? Anyway, Patsy Kamatada said U.S. military were never supposed to be used on their own soil, in operations. And so all the evidence is clear, that everything that our worst fears are true.
Yeah. I'm just sorry. I'm listening and I'm trying to move the microphone closer because you're about an 8 now. So.
I'm about an H.
You're an 8. 8 on sound.
8.
Yeah.
8. Okay,
8.
So that's the number of return. I like that one.
Okay. Now.
Okay, so got another report here. I'm too low, so I am too low apparently.
Still an 8. I think that's about as good as we're going to get. Like, I can fiddle with it before the next program, but I don't want to stuff anything up if I go into any settings or anything like that. So, oh, thank you, yeah, love. I'm glad because I'm further away from the microphone now, and it's practically sitting on top of the phone.
Yeah, so. The most important thing is that we're balanced. Even if my quality is low, we want to be equalized, because that's a bad quality when you got to turn the microphone up and down.
Yeah,
or
I know.
The speakers up and down at each time somebody else talks.
All right. Well, hang on. I'll turn the microphone around more, since they can hear me. Because you know how I was saying.
You'll have to listen to this program and reassess it after we do it. Perhaps we shouldn't do too long of a program today, just in case.
Well, I've just moved it so that the phone is directly in front of the microphone. So, and the instructions said go in front of the microphone.
What I want to know is the quality of the phone better? Because the quality of the phone has been very tinny and so very bad quality. So the question to our friends out there is the quality of my phone coming through the mic better, even though it may be low. Is it better than the quality that we've had already?
It should be. It should be.
All right.
I sounded different when I tested it just with me earlier. I sounded different. So the quality should be much better, Desert. Just waiting for some responses to your request. So I guess we'll move on while we're waiting. Almost equal. Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. I'll sit back a bit so I'm a bit quieter, and then we can be equal.
All right.
Okay. Quality is better. Excellent.
What?
Excellent. It's getting better. Like everything I'm doing is improving the sound. Like you sound better. It's just getting the volume now. So you've got to learn the positioning. That's it. It's all grassroots engineering. It's nothing fancy, not high tech, but the positioning of everything makes a difference. And it's not the most expensive microphone. It just looks good. It was on sale. So got to make do with what we got. Okay. So I can't get you any closer to the microphone. So
Okay, and the
yeah.
phone is turned all the way up, right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, good deal.
Okay.
Right.
So do you want to move on to the next item on your list on here?
Right. Well, when we were on mass media, right? We talked about mass media.
Yeah, we're on mass media, and the next one is pseudo-politics. Pseudo-politics.
Right.
I'm curious about the word pseudo.
Well, it means supposed. Supposed. Like a pseudonym. A pseudonym means possibly a fake name, and so politics would mean fake politics because, well, I like the word politics, because it's those ticks that go around and get under your skin, and but the pole originally meant a city, of course, city like a necropolis or a city on a hill, or the Decapolis around the Lake of Galilee meant the 10 cities, the Decapolis. So Paul, implies those who rule the city. Politics. Tech would be also tick. A tick is pretty techy with being able to do what he does, being so small. And I just don't know why there's so many of them. There's especially here in America, we got lots of ticks. And but anyway, not to get off track here. Pseudo-politics, because it's the grand illusion. Once the and each nation has its own pseudo-politics. So I can best refer to ours. But and banking took over all the five primary Christian nations at the same time. So and I learned that when I was doing international shortwave producing for here in America, our states, and then with Bev Collins on the Canadian side in the Canadian Institute for Political Integrity, and then Ian Murphy with the Aussie Freedom Scouts down under where you're at. And so I brought all three nations on international shortwave at the same time, and we proved that what was happening in each of the other nation was happening exactly in the same timeline. In other words, the blueprint was being followed, and so banking took over the system in a different way in each nation at the same time, and the ramping up of new laws, the changing of the legal system and so forth in different ways. The U.S. officially went into statutory code, rules, and regulations through the bankruptcy. They declared bankruptcy here circa 1933 after the Jekyll Island Act was passed, where they met down in Georgia and Jekyll Island in 1912, I guess it was, 1912, about a year or two before they took down the Titanic, or after they took down the Titanic and killed the wealthy of America that would be in opposition to a centralized bank. Here at communists, knowing that it was a communism Vatican front, and so unannounced takeover of our banking system. It was, and prior to getting the New Deal that Theodore Roosevelt brought in, Illuminati family, Roosevelt family. They created the Depression. They were already controlling the money and manipulating it. The banksters. They just didn't have the final paperwork all complete. In other words, it was a process that was going on for a full-blown, complete, total bankruptcy takeover, and where the Federal Reserve becomes the receiver in the bankruptcy, holding all title to all property in America. Nobody owns anything in reality, and so they create the Great Depression, and because they have to get the brain dead mass on their side, and so what they do to do that is the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and so they create the great Dust Bowl, the Depression. They choked the money supply. That's all they had to do. Choke the money supply. No loans going out. High interest, whatever. And while people made a killing in this thing, where people were jumping out of windows, the ones who were really, in the Illuminati front, then they all make money in the deal, because it's all a controlled machine. And so one of the classic stories about that is in the and this isn't pseudopolitics, but this is leading up to it, you see, because that's this is how it happened. But the book Think and Grow Rich, I remember reading that once, and during the Great Depression, then when this wealthy woman heard that everybody was losing their money, and so she took all of the furniture and stuff and moved everything into the servants' cottage, as if they were going to lose the big house. And she moved everything, and the husband comes home and says, "Honey, what are you doing?" Says, "Well, I heard what's happening, and I know we're probably going to lose everything, so I, set up here in the little house." And he says, we're not losing anything. We just made a fortune, So people made a fortune while in the scam of the Great Depression. So, so then because then the Federal Reserve becomes the head, and Washington D.C. then merely becomes the stage and the tail, then everybody is in on the game to different levels of degree, where the new boys coming in are just really puppies, and so they're a little ignorant about how the game really plays. But if they're good puppies, then then they'll get rewarded. They'll get their dog bones, and then they'll get a little more knowledge into how the game really plays, and that money power trip starts to feel pretty good. That pension that's coming their way and everything else, all the perks, all the special privileges, free dinners, all the prestige, and the illusion of power, all begins to settle in. And so all the issues. So in other words, all that Washington D.C. is a stage. It is a setup, and therefore the Federal Reserve is the holder in the bankruptcy. The nation fraudulently, thanks to Harry Truman, who signed into law the Federal Reserve Act, gave the last stroke of a pen to the final death nail of what possibly would have been a free America, and he was quoted as saying, "I have unwittingly sold out my nation." He admitted that at one point, because they stroked him too. The cigars and the free dinners and the perks and this patting him on the back and telling him, and just talking to him on the side, making him feel important, got to his head, and he didn't think straight anymore, and so sold out his own nation. And of course, they were all sellouts. Roosevelt sold 2,000 U.S. Navy men to their graves in Pearl Harbor because they worked with Japan. Actually, there was no surprise attack. They worked with Japan in the operation. It was a one world order operation, of course, and the evidence of that is they didn't destroy the oil reserves in Hawaii. Of all the things you'd want to attack when you have a sneak attack against another's army, is you'd want to kill their oil supply. So they can't go anywhere. It would have destroyed. It would have ended the war. America would have lost the war right there in the Pacific if they would have destroyed the oil tanks, of the oil storage tanks in Hawaii. Even the weekend before, in the newspaper, Hilo newspaper, it said Japan may attack next weekend. They even put the announcement in the newspaper, and nobody gets it. Ralph Epperson, who wrote the book The Unseen Hand, got a copy of that, so it's back.
Same tricks over and over on repeat. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They do that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So there is. So the political state is merely a ship of state. They pulled into port to perform their piracy because it was founded by the Illuminatis. 2 months prior to the Jews' lie of the 4th, and which of course the bankers. We know the banking speaking is Jewish, and that's why they've been kicked out of every nation of Europe at least at one point in time. And and are blood drinkers, and they follow a wicked cult, and they're pretend Israel. They're pseudo Israel as well, pseudo again, and they put on a suit. The suit looks pretty good when you're wearing a suit, but that's that hangman's noose. That's the upside down Egyptian obelisk and the symbol of the phallus. They hang around their neck to remind them if you don't do your job, then you're next. So literally, when we see this illusion of how one of the congressmen, they have a special meeting with the Federal Reserve, they're going to ask them some hard questions, and maybe we're going to audit. Maybe we should audit the Federal Reserve. Yes. Well, audit what? There is no money, so what would there be to audit other than the original arrangements that the Rothschilds made with the royals of England after they tricked them into thinking that Napoleon was going to win the war at Waterloo, and he actually lost, and then the royal family in fear sold everything they had for a penny on the dollar, and Rothschild bought it up. They said, "It's okay, Queen or King, you can go ahead. This is the deal we'll make with you. You can print we'll create bonds so that we can print all the money you want, but in exchange we get to tax the people for whatever we want." And that's how they did it. They give it out, and they pull it back in. It's a total circle, you see. Show it to people. The people work hard for their labor, thought they were making money, and then all of a sudden they got to pay 50% tax, on tax on everything, tax on this, tax on that. By the time you're done, you only actually had 15-20% of what, could have been 80% more of substance, so of that grand illusion of the funny money. So it's the same game played here. That's why they create bonds. Well, what does bonds sound like? Stocks and bonds? Bondage, right? Put them in a stockade. Stocks and bonds. That's what they do with the birth certificate. Put it on Wall Street. Slave. And so pseudo-politics. It's the, it is the game to keep you under the spell, keep you under control. So banking declared, a holiday. They had the bank holiday. They told everyone also they had to turn in their gold or you're going to jail. What? You're going to jail. Wait a minute. Gold is private property. You're telling me you've outlawed the ownership of private property? There's an emergency? Because they stole all the gold. That was the emergency, and people figured it out. They might march on Washington and kill everybody. So they, they had to play their tricks very carefully. And so so everything has been a stage, and in the only so they did so the banks declared a holiday. Then they declared an emergency with the holiday called the War and Emergency Powers Act, and so on the day before the national emergency was declared, they got all the governors of the states declare a state emergency. All Masons, no doubt, if most all of them would have been Masons, following the Grand Poobah's order. And then after the states declared the emergency, then all the, and of course, with an emergency, there's protocols that they go through of what they are, with, no specifically. But then the federal emergency, and in the War and Emergency Powers Act, it was redrafted because it was supposed to be dealing with enemy, in particular foreign, but could include domestic. But they're here with the rewritten War and Emergency Powers Act that was discovered by the agricultural movement, and Dr. Eugene Schroeder, who I've met and used to follow his work, and he published a book on it and everything. Gave all the documentation, showed the photographs of the documents. We were declared the enemy. The people were declared the enemy, and they with the banking and codes, rules, and statutory regulations, they moved away from common law, which was the real law, and county sovereignty, that you had a right to be tried by your own peers in your own county before your freedom or life can be taken from you, and they reversed everything. So then you got the Supreme Court, which is actually the inferior court. It was there strictly for commerce and international trade, but they now made it look like it's the most important place to go to get a decision on anything, when it was the jury that had the power of decision making, you see, about right and wrong. But of course they made everyone brain dead and dumb and numb, and therefore nobody can process
Yeah.
because they control this through education. Ed is what they remove from you, not what they give you. And so, with the War and Emergency Powers Act, they moved away from real law, and they went under what they call public policy. And so they create the illusion of laws with codes, rules, and regulations, and a policing force. You only have a police force versus a sheriff and deputies who are deputized. You have a police force, which is the police, which is the a military, unannounced military that, whereas you look in Black's Law 6, where under state police it says they are trained in a quasi-military fashion. Well, if you're trained in a quasi-military fashion, I guess that means you're fully pregnant, just like you can't be half pregnant. You're military. You dress in a uniform. You are brainwashed when you go to the academy, and they tell you what to think and how to think, and you follow orders. Don't think for yourself. Don't think about right and wrong. Don't think about constitutional principles or any of those things. They broke the law. They crossed the yellow line. Oh, geez, they got a tail light out. Beat them up on the side of the road. Give them a $50 fine. They couldn't afford a light. Now they're not going to be able to afford the ticket. Maybe they'll have to go to jail. Maybe they'll lose their job. So everything is about commerce. Really, where they moved into is from law is into commerce, the money game. And that's another form of taxation.
Yeah.
Another form. So
Yeah.
everything they do is to milk us,
Yeah.
to keep us broke, to keep us down. And while the politicians smoking big cigars, having a party, being stroked on the back, patted on the back, and having sex parties and all the drugs and cocaine they want to snort, just like the George Green, I think it was. He was working in banking. He was an honorable gentleman who, at one point, he's at a big board table with Senator Ted Kennedy and others of the politicians, and when George Green's teenage daughter, came into the room to give something to her dad or whatever, then Ted Kennedy goes, "Man, I'd like to take her to bed." And when he said that, he said, "Man, that's my daughter." And he says, "Oh, I don't care." And then George looks back at the table, and in the middle of the table there's this big pot, like a sugar jar, and it's filled with white powder. And then all of a sudden it hit him. These people here snorting cocaine, and they're having a party, and they're the people that are running the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wanting to rape children at the same time.
Yeah,
and
it's disgusting.
So that's the pseudo politics, because there's a front. What I didn't talk about yesterday, and I wanted to touch on, was the real government. So we should then just talk about the real government, because behind this illusion and this stage and this front and this shell game is the real government. And we saw it yesterday. I think you mentioned it, how you saw the picture of the Jesuit priest and the two guys looked like Hindu.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the real government. You were looking at the real government behind Washington, D.C. Now they're out, because normally we always saw pictures of the president surrounded by Jews, right? Because the Jewish Zionism and Kabbalistic Freemasonry are the lower echelon. But now they replaced the photo op with Jews with who everybody kisses up to Israel, the greatest terrorist state on the planet, makes the SS stormtroopers of Nazi Germany look like Boy Scouts compared to the Israeli Mossad, the international terrorist front that took down the Twin Towers with the Bush family. That now the president is surrounded by the real power brokers, who are the Jesuit priests, the Vatican. Everything works through the Vatican office, and Washington D.C. is one of the official Vatican states, along with the city of London and of course the Vatican City, the three city states, but yet then the real power brokers were just standing there on the right side, on their left, who were these two guys who look like they're Hindus. They look a little Aryan, but they have very dark skin, and they represent they are the secretaries of the unseen hand that comes out of the ancient Aryan Brahmin culture that has been running the world from the beginning of time. You never live in your front office, which is the Vatican. So the Vatican is the final stop where of the office, the political state. In other words, it's a religious state, but it's really a political state, and then behind it is the unseen hand, which is what those Brahmin, those Hindu-looking guys were all about, because they were the ones who represent the unseen hand. That we will never see their pictures, we will never know their names, or where they live. Although we can assume they live in Switzerland, some in the Vatican area and Italy, and some in the Burma, some in Tibet, some in India, and other parts of the world. They're networked, but their ancient enclave is northern India, Delhi area, Tibet, and Burma, and so they run our world. They tell the presidents, the Merkels of Germany and all the others what they're supposed to do. That's why they've all sold out, their nations to the Islamic Front, because the Islamic Front is as it said in Morals and Dogma with Albert, written by Albert Pike in the late 1800s, that they will use in the Third World War, that they will create, that they will use Islam to destroy all of Christianity. And so we can see them doing it. They're destroying all of European culture. All the beautiful different colors and flowers of European culture are all being trampled upon and will no longer exist in the short days ahead that are left. It's already been destroyed. It's already over. So this unseen hand, what I call the World Federation, the underground World Federation, that do fly anti-gravity craft and have all the ray guns and all the super technology, which was all invented, in all the great technologies and every science that came out of India. It's all superior. It always has been. But yet they made it look like America was the first in flight, the first light bulb, the first internet,
slowly,
when it was made in Switzerland.
Yeah, slowly brought it out over the years, just as part of all the deception. Yeah.
So they have a one world agenda, and the one world agenda is and the slaves are the enemy. We got to keep the slaves in control, and all they wanted to do was to harness our labor, and then they taxed us for our labor when we worked as a good slave, so that we'd have nothing left in the end, and so it just went right back into their coffers. Any phony title for property, mortgage, phony title, and so they're now we see the velvet glove coming off the iron fist. Now the iron fist is coming down, and they literally destroyed an entire community in Paradise, California. It appears that it may be true that tens of thousands were annihilated in their own homes, certainly in their automobiles. We saw it on the sides of the road, and they get away with it because they have perfected the state of the art of mind control and people control. Because the World Federation is even a better perk than the U.S. military or the Navy. The World Federation, you're a secret agent. You work underground. You get a bigger paycheck. You got more prestige and power. You're flying these anti-gravity crafts. You're 300 years in the future. Nobody even knows you exist. In your secret world that you're in.
Yeah. So
it's always about power. Another power trip, another power stroke. Any questions?
Yes. I was just thinking, you're talking about the unseen hand standing around Trump. I was just curious.
Well, they were the seen hand.
Yeah.
The unseen hand is standing behind that hand that you were seeing there.
So there's multi-layers. Because I was thinking they're finally starting to show themselves, because they're that they don't care anymore, because the world is like, most people in the world are that far gone and that dumbed down and asleep and all the rest of it. I was thinking they don't care anymore. They're just showing their faces. So there's more.
Right.
There's more layers.
They're now showing how arrogantly, how powerful they really are.
Yeah.
They're Catholic priests, stealth Jesuits, putting their arms around Trump. He's showing who he really is, and so they're now out in the front, where like I said, it was the Jewish.
Yeah.
And people can hate the Jews because they're bankers and they know about Snidely Whiplash and all of that stuff, and how bankers are criminal in nature, but and commit fraud against the people of the world. But so now it's the people who are the front secretaries, the front office people, the Vatican are happy to take a photo opportunity because they're now winding down. They've done it. It's done. It's over. They use their labor. They don't need us anymore. They got all the super technologies in mass production, underground, in factories. You know, I was always amazed at you know, we look at all these machines, you know, but what always intrigued me was the machines that made the machines. You know, look at the iPhone. You know, what machines, what technology it takes just to make these microscopic technological components and put them all together in a, you know, with a machine.
Yeah.
You know? So it's the Hindus. These are the ones who have the super mathematics. You know, these people are genius. And if you look at all the history of India, you know, you'll see that. Look at the temples. Look at the intricacy of all the things they do. The most intricate temples of all that are around the world are found in India. The detail, the enormous effort they went to, you know. It's in comparison to the Gazar pyramid, but the Gazar pyramid is just flat and straight, you know, where all of all the temples in India have so much detail in refined art and statuary, and not to mention scale, you know, or other parts where they just went into solid rock and carved out a temple out of solid rock, you know. They prove out that they are the masters of creation on our planet, and the sciences, all the history goes back there. They flew the anti-gravity while they're making their temples, you know. They've mastered mind control back then.
Yeah.
It was they've always been in control. These are the ancient Aryan watchers, the Bekaresh. We're you know, so like I say, now it's over. They don't need us anymore. They only want about 500 million people worldwide. That means 9 out of 10 people on the planet got to go now, and they're doing it. They're doing it. They're winding it up, ratcheting it up, and they prove that they test everything with a smaller scale model. And paradise, you know, what a great symbolism for them. We know they want to destroy paradise. They want to destroy anything good in this world, you know, and that's what they're doing. So we're witnessing it. And so that's our pseudo-politics for today, 101, and I hope people can see it clearly, because they've got to realize that, you know, that these few friends of mine that I have, you know, that I know that really think they're going to, you know, the Green Beret are going to march in at the last moment or whatever. It's a worldwide federation, a world federation. All the leaders of the world are in on the game. They own the police and the military. You know, you think a couple patriots are going to come along and kick their butt? Give me a break. You know, they've been doing this for thousands of years. There's nothing new under the sun. It's the old game. It's the new game. The old world order is the new world order. The one world order. Never new. It's always old. You know?
Yeah.
And but they had to give it the new name. You see, they changed the names and make it look new.
Yeah.
And so that's where our pseudo-politics is. And I've got part 2 here, so but we'll stay with this for a moment if you have any comments or questions going on.
Okay.
Don't forget, you're getting in here first. Like, you don't get it anywhere else, because the game, this is so deep.
Yeah.
You know, the layers of the onion. Some people think it's the Queen of England who runs the world, or some people thought it was a bunch of corporate guys, you know, with a few political leaders, you know, in something called the Bilderbergs. They call it the Bilderberger. You know, they just, it's the lowest echelon deception, when, you know, people then can get to the Queen of England and wonder why they don't call her husband the king, because she's just a symbol, and they give her the false illusion of power and control, make her look good, but then she bows down to the Lord Mayor of London. Oh, so I guess then the Jewish banking is in control, because she bows down to them. But no, then you look in the Catholic Encyclopedia, you find out that the Jewish banking, Rothschild, Bauer family are the protectors and defenders of the Vatican Trust. They rule by permission, and as well, everybody rules by permission if they do their job. And same with the Vatican, because behind them is the unseen hand. And so masters of illusion, and so I'm not smart enough to figure this out. The Heavenly Father opened the doors for me, put me at the right place at the right time, gave me desire to want to know, and it's a miracle to me that I can see it so clearly and so well. I just wanted to know, but I wanted to know more about the spiritual end of it. But we have to also then know the nature of the world, because the enlightenment that Yeshua brings is total and complete, and he wants us to know. So that's where we're at here.
Wow. And yes, thank you. I love the way you explain things. It's just, if anyone who's listening who is new to this, or can only see parts of the puzzle, Desert, you explain it so well to be able to see the bigger picture. And it is happening now, and it is tragic, and we can't, I don't know, I don't like sounding morbid, but we're not supposed to get up and fight this with, you know, with riots and violence and protests and all that. That's
all orchestrated by Freemasonry.
Yeah.
All under control. Order out of chaos.
Yeah. It's just, it has to happen, and we have to turn inwards so that we can see what is happening. That's like, I'm understanding completely, Desert, because I'm going through it right now. The more truth I see, the more lies I see through, and yeah, you know.
Where do they create all of our imagery for aliens and all the nonsense that we follow, and demons and all this stuff? It all comes from the movies, all from the television. They put it in our minds. We never would have had these pictures if we never saw these pictures. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and it's in the words. And the answers are in the words. That's what we're going to do in part 2. No comments or questions out there right now, then, Ninja?
No, everyone's been listening intently. Okay. Yeah. And Lynn couldn't stay for long. Lynn stopped in at the start, but she couldn't stay for long. She had to go to the doctor. So.
Okay. Well, we can do follow-up, at any point if someone has a follow-up. We can do that. But I wanted to, I meant to do it yesterday, and then it got away from us somehow, and I wanted to touch on words, because this is really science. The science is communication, and if we don't know what we say, we don't know what we mean. If we don't know what we mean, we don't know what we're saying, because the words, if we don't know the words that we're using, then they may not mean what we think they mean, and we may not then say what we mean to say when we say what we mean, because we're...
I'm looking forward to it, Desert. I haven't had a lesson in a while, so please continue.
Yeah. Okay, well, I wanted to start out, what got me going, of course, was yesterday on I got a new dictionary from the 1700s, the late 1700s. He predated Noah Webster's American Dictionary by about 40 years, give or take. And it's Samuel Johnson. And I've been hearing about Samuel Johnson for the longest time, and then found out somebody did a republication of his book, not the full dictionary, but a highlight of his original dictionary. And so I'm reading through the alphabet. I just read through the high, just to get a familiarization with books. I'm in W yesterday, and you may have taken note of the fact that I keep saying, like when people talk about Yahweh, that you hear me repeat over and over. There's no W, it's a V, and it's Yahweh, right?
Yeah.
You probably remember. Okay.
Yeah.
So Yahweh, everybody's stuck on the W with Yahweh, but we have to go back to original root form. That's the first thing we've got to do if we're going to be able to spell words correctly and get off the spell, off from their spell, free from their spell, their spelling, to be free from their magical spell, because that's the only way they can control us with this illusion. So W, here, and I was astounded that now I get there's no better, I could ask for no better backup than a quote by Samuel Johnson now on the fallacy of the W. Because right here in the opening page of his book, of his dictionary, from the 1700s, and that which is older and that which is first is superior to that which comes later, because what comes later is more deception, always. So the further we go back and find a root source of good information, then we can take that one to the bank. So here we go. Samuel Johnson, from his Samuel Johnson's dictionary, late 1700s. He says W is, which is really two V's, double V. You know, again, they get us to lie, like they get us going to our computer using the cursor and getting us cursing all the time. W is a letter of which the form is not to be found in the alphabets of the learned languages of the world. Okay?
Wow.
One more time.
And
W is a letter of which the form is not to be found in the alphabets of the learned languages of the world. You see? Man's fabrication. It's a code.
Yeah.
He do it.
I just said wow,
Yeah.
which has two W's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's right. Two W's, which is a code. So it'd be Vav.
Yeah.
Vav is the wave, the sound wave of creation, you know, of thought. It's a symbol of thought. And so these pictures that we could have had originally, because it was in the original, diction, and therefore it is sound wave. The V's touching each other, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, creates the sound waves of creation. And so V is a very important symbol, and they keep it to themselves. In fact, they even created the motif in an automobile called the beetle. Oh, the beetle, which is the sacred scarab that walks on water from Mitzrayim, falsely called Egypt. And so the beetle had on it the VW. VW, don't forget, the W is a V, the V is a W. You know, so they even have fun with us. That they can even make automobiles. They are so powerful, and put their code on it so that that Zionist movement won't forget. Don't forget, the V is a W, W is a V, blah, 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 blah. You know, right?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it.
Okay.
I see it.
All right.
Yeah.
So those little putt-putt cars
That look like beetles.
didn't go very good up the hill, as I remember. But
Yeah.
anyway, so they use corporate symbolism, you know, to have fun with us at the same time. The graphic symbol. Here's a definition. Nothing in the material world is absolute pure form. That and we should more specifically say, especially when we're talking about the matrix, man-made constructs. Okay, but the virtue of the sign or symbol, it remains of the substance in action. Everything is substance and action by virtue of those forms. In other words, it's speaking, and you need to be able to read it. The
Yeah.
symbol has crystallized in creative art, involves a high degree of condensation, deriving from its inherent economy, new form, and elusive power. This, then, is the psychological basis of the symbolism of graphics, the basis of the magical interpretation is to be sought in the literal interpretation of the theory of the correspondences. And then we can see graphics and dictionary of symbols. Okay? So
Wow, Desert.
that's something to meditate on, right?
Yes. Thank you for saying it on the program. I'm going to listen to that again because I need to listen to that again.
Yeah.
I need to listen to that a few times. Sorry?
Yeah, Confucius said signs and symbols rule the world,
Yes.
not words nor law.
Yes.
And of course, we know law is phony. They destroyed law, original law. The natural law still exists. The law of nature, the law of the Heavenly Father. The first law, the original law, is still here. Nobody gets away with anything. Nobody. Okay, because there's one who sees all things, and that's the one who made all things. And if he knows how many hairs are on our head, well, he certainly knows everything else too, doesn't he? I mean, come on. That's an amazing truth. So G is a symbol, and we know that the Masons like to wear it on their ring. At least they used to. I don't know if they do anymore, but they did big time. And it has the compass and the square for the architect being Yahweh and the creator being Elohim. So the architect and the creator come together in the compass and the square. And is the symbol of illumination in symbol form, and then we can think of it's the first letter of the word gold. G, old. Oh, G is old for that which is gold is as old as it gets, right? The gold that is made in the process of volcanism. Okay, so G is the symbol, prime symbol for illumination. So there's a good one to follow that quote. And then the what we call the Giza pyramid is the Gazar pyramid. Gazar sounds like quasar, and which means a star, and Zar is star. It's the original word for star. Star is a corruption, so it is Zar. There's the TZ, the power symbols, and the AR is the power word. AR for army, argument, arbitrary, armor, you know, arrogant. All those power words are in the AR. So we got to look at these parent root forms. So literally, Gazar, as we talked about the Gazar pyramid, I think in the last program or two.
Yeah.
Then Gazar means the eye of the sun's illumination, or the eye of the stars illumination. So that's what it was. It gave us all the dimensions. It didn't have any Egyptian language. Language is not a good word, but you know, everybody gets it when we use that terminology. So it had no written alphabet in the Gazar pyramid. What it had was a mathematical form of communicating,
Yeah.
and it's in all the dimensions. And so I recommend anybody get the book, The Great Pyramid Decoded by Raymond Cap. Raymond has now passed away. He was too old to interview when I finally talked to him on the phone. He was in his 90s. But you can get the book from Artisan Publishers, and you'll find out that the one who made the entire universe is the one who commissioned and designed and built the Gazar pyramid. It was Asham. Asham is the correct name for Shem. Asham, and you hear the word Asha in there,
Yeah.
as we talk about Ashavor and the Asha vortex. But he was Melchizedek, and he, prior to the flood, commissioned by Yahweh, the Great Father, commissioned by him to build the Gazar pyramid, saying, okay, you occult priesthood, you want to build pyramids all over the world? Okay, well, we'll build a pyramid. We'll build the biggest and the most sophisticated pyramid the planet has ever seen. And in there we'll have locked in all the dimensions of this solar system. So anybody who wants to try to prove out that it's a flat earth, flat-thinking, nonsensical, biosphere under a canopy of, nonsense, then my Gazar pyramid will defy all that, because it's the eye of illumination that proves out that I made the universe, Yahweh, and all my dimensions for the circumference of the earth and the distances between sun, earth, and moon, and you name it, the size of the sun, all in the pyramid. So let the liars continue to be liars, while the truth is all an open secret. And Emmanuel, that's always been an enigma for me, and I wondered, okay, how, because we hear it for the first time in the gospel, where it said that Yeshua would be called Emmanuel, and then we hear it means that God with us. But actually, thanks again for our Fenton, always finding new discoveries of for our Fenton, the most important Bible translation in modern time from 1905. Again, available at artisanpublishers.com, just like the Great Pyramid Decoded. Artisanpublishers.com. Tell them Desert sent you. I've known these folks for about 20 years, and they'll take care of you. And so Emmanuel, the way he had it spelled in Fenton was Asha, L, A-S-H-A, and then the letter L. And when I saw that, I said, okay, there we go. And so it's Asha-ul, naturally, because Asha means the royal eye, and Ul is the eye of the owl, and symbols of the sun and moon. That's your primary creation. That's going back as primary as you can get. The first symbols, sun and moon, symbols of light and darkness, and the only lights that exist within our sky, other than the stars. I mean, in our solar system, these are the two lights, but the one is a false light, the symbol of Lucifer, and the moon. But then the one is the true light, and that's the sun, the Zan. Correct word for Zan, not sun, but Zan, meaning infinite, without number, infinite. The beyond imagination. And so Emmanuel then being Esha'ul, but because there's so many M's in Emmanuel, you see, as you know, Ninja, they abbreviate the words, and so I got to find the elements of what they took out to rebuild the words, or to take out a corrupt letter like an I or a J, that don't belong there because they never did exist, or a W. And we get rid of the false symbols, and then we have to reconstruct with the original pure symbols, and A and O are the primary pure symbols, and the letter L follows. And so I realized it was probably Eshama'ul, and therefore, and when you know the root forms and what they mean, like Ma is mother, and the A is the I, the letter A is the symbol of the I, your I, E-Y-E, but it's pronounced A, things like that. Shah for royal, Ul, O-O-L is original for symbolically for owl, symbolically, and that's why they put a W in owl, O-W-L,
Wow.
because they didn't want you to see the simplicity of the two circles create the eye of the owl, right?
Yeah. I'm following.
Yeah, and the L is the symbol of time, the obelisk, and so an array of light that comes down, symbol of time, and so you put two O's together, and there's your prime root of sun and moon as symbols of time, and they are the great owl in the sky because they're the ones who create the light to see in the darkness, right?
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So simple, basic. This is
Yes.
the core of that quote I was giving you at the beginning about symbolism, you see?
Yes.
That's the essence of it.
Yes.
The graphic symbol, if we can read it, and it speaks, it doesn't lie. But we have to put those thinking caps on, meditate, pray, get with Yeshua, and ask for the light, because he's the one who brings the light down. And so literally, so Emmanuel is really Eshama'ul, and it literally means the royal eye of enlightenment of the Virgin Mother Light that came down. The Virgin Mother Light, right? Wasn't it a virgin who brought forth the light of Yeshua? The pure seed came through a 14-year-old virgin from the royal line. And so you see, even in the symbolism again of who this virgin was and what she represents, fits in the terminology as well. The royal eye of enlightenment, that's Yeshua, of the Virgin Mother Light that came down, Esha Ma'ul, and he will be known as Esha Ma'ul.
Wow, Desert. I was going to ask you about the birth, because all we hear is about the death of Yeshua and him coming back, and I don't know. I only know the basic cover story regarding the birth. So thank you. I just want to say thank you for speaking about that, because I was going to ask about that tonight. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the word Esha is paramount, because it's within so many of the words. This is the mother word. Esha is the royal eye. Well, what more powerful of an expression could there be than to know that Yahweh, who they miscall Yahweh, and Yeshua is the royal eye, right? They are the ones who see all things, the Father and the Son, who sees all things, know all things, made all things, are all things. Only that they're not inside the shul of man, because they cannot remain in that void of darkness until they wake up and put on the covenant operation of redemption and light, and then Yahweh can have supper with them. That's what he wants to do, to deliver us from the darkness that we fell into in the first creation. That's why we have to be born, the second born. We have to be second born because the first one was in the fall, and we have to follow his blueprint for soul novation. So the next word is Ganun, and Ganun is the garden, and so when we're talking about Canaan, it's a corruption. The C is a corruption. The third letter of the alphabet is not C, it's a G. And the second letter is not a B, it's a V. It's AVG. It's funny, there's an antivirus program called that. And because it's Zionist made, and they know it, and they know the truth. But they follow Kabbalism, no doubt. And so Ganun, Gan is garden. And so when Yalganun, John, who you look at how they abbreviated the word, they call him John, 4 letters, right?
Yeah.
And you know these primitive had many letters in them, and it was not Yakanan. I thought it was Yakanan for the longest time, but then finally all the final parts of the puzzle, the root forms, come together, the code breaks, and it's Yalganun. Yalgan, Yahll apostrophe Ghan, and there the GH is the symbol for 8 and the number of return, and AN apostrophe NOON. I'll do it again. YAHLL apostrophe GHAN apostrophe NOON. And I do the apostrophes to separate the words, the smaller words and the big word. That helps. So it's Yalganun. And Yalganun. And so when they said, they knew his name was Yalganun. Remember in the story with Zechariah and Elizabeth, they couldn't have a baby, and in the end, she's conceives just like Mary, and they find out their son will usher in the Messiah. And but because Zechariah doubted, then he was made mute and couldn't hear and couldn't speak. He was dumb, and so this was the reason was because his name was going to be so profound. And so he was told his name is going to be Yalganun. And so what does Yalganun mean? Well, Gan is garden, and we know what high noon is. High noon is the apex of the highest point of the sunlight that shines in the daytime. And so, and Yal is that which goes round, as in the word dial. The Yal goes round. And so being that he was going to be called Yalganun, then what it really meant was the garden at high noon that goes round. That we are in the lower garden where the fall occurred, but now we were going to learn about the garden at high noon that is up above us, the atom, which is corrupted as Eden. The garden at high noon that goes round. What garden? The garden of light, the river of light that flows without end to nurture us, to bring us back to the state of enlightenment and to the purified state of the great breath of the wind and fire, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit that we have to be married to, become one with, to become androgynous with the androgynous one, So that's the power word, Ganun, and that's the power name that Yalganun had, Jonathan, or Nathan, depending upon what culture you're dealing with in the translation. I'm starting to lose my voice here. Do you want to jump in and sing a song or give out my information for me, and then maybe I can finish this part?
Okay. Yeah. Wow. How you doing? You okay? Over there
in
the cold?
I feel like my voice is getting stressed. I'm giving it 100% decibels, and I'm just sit back and have a drink real quick and let you give out my information for you know what we talk about. Right?
Yeah. Okay. I'll just have to find it. Hang on. Okay. Desert is at the moment having issues with his PC, so all the necessary links are in the description of all these episodes of the Forbidden History Chronicles. You can go to Desert's channel, the Forbidden History series, and catch up. I highly recommend it. It's fantastic listening. You learn everything you need to know on Desert's channel. It's all there.
And it's not that we're having issues with the PC, Ninja, but I'm surrounded by Freemasons who have done everything to destroy my work.
Yeah.
Yeshua's work, not my work. Yeshua's work.
I didn't want to say that. I'd rather you say that.
We have a book of wisdom. We have a book of wisdom we want to publish for people in prison. It's the most powerful book of wisdom ever written by Joseph of Arimathea, the great uncle of Yeshua. And so we have a whole lot going on. We have a ministry, a translation project. We're trying to produce here, and people can be a part of this intellectual work and benefit from it by helping us to produce it collectively. People want to save America. They can't even figure that one out. But everybody coming together collectively can produce a platform of information that is unsurpassed on this planet today, and that's knowing what the Heavenly Father is doing with this ministry right here, right now. It's all the proof of it is already in words in typeset, and you have copies of it, and others of our friends. So as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating of it. Well, the substance is on the table, and you're hearing orally what has already been published in preliminary form. But it's a big project, to publish books and to and get this information out there. So yeah, we need help. So please continue. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you just said most of it. Thank you, Desert.
Give out my information, all the website and all that.
Yeah. The links are in the description, but you can get copies at www.therealpublicradio.net. That's www.therealpublicradio.net. And you can also contact Desert on 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. Add a +1 in front of that if you're international. For any queries, questions regarding donations and how to get copies, you can also contact me. My email is in the description as well, and I can get you the copies. I can email you the copies. Have I missed anything? Does it?
No, I guess you got everything, and I appreciate.
Sorry, I should have found more words and rambled for a bit longer. Yeah.
Say what again? I'm sorry.
I should have found a few more words and rambled a bit longer. I didn't realise you weren't ready.
Well, I was taking some honey from my throat, trying to help it out here.
Okay.
So I'll go over a few more words, and again, people can put comments in or questions in the chat. Just put desert in all capital letters, and then you'll see it, and then we can do that. My whole purpose is just to share what the Heavenly Father has given to me. There's no profit to be made in this type of work, because you'll know the truth, and the truth will make you a fugitive. And the dark cult Freemasons will want to come and do you harm, because they want to be the controllers of information, and they're the controllers of society. They're the builders of the great towers, the skyscrapers, and all the other monuments, and they follow Shivaism through their occult nature of their of what they do in their tradition, and so they are the proverbial Shiva doing the dance in the mandala while standing on the baby. They pride themselves in being creators, the creators and the destroyers. You see, and so they're on a 500-year cycle where they take one nation up and they take it down and then do another one. And so America's been here since the phony discovery of America by Columbus. It's been 500 years. Francis Bacon's, New Atlantis. America is Americu, the feathered serpent. That's the phoenix, the feathered serpent. Their great grand symbol of the obelisk and of the male phallus. So we're going down now. Our 500-year cycle is over, and what they intend to bring up is China. But I think it's all now an anti-climax, because it looks like they destroyed our world, but they tried to do everything bigger and better in China. Everything in America was first this, first that. Now everything in China is bigger. The biggest dam, the biggest satellite, the biggest satellite dish, the biggest everything that they do in China is bigger. But they destroyed the ozone. They destroyed our planet, and all sea life is dying. When we talked about those mammals the other day, the whales and porpoises dying, it just dawned on me. I never thought about this, but we only see the ones that get beached.
Yeah.
What about the ones that don't make it to the beach? Maybe they just sink to the bottom, right? They drown.
Probably.
And so we have no idea.
Maybe that's why the ocean smells
we only see the ones
so.
that land on the shores.
Yeah, maybe that's partly why the ocean smells so awful.
Well, it's losing oxygen. The ocean is heating up because of the fact that it can hold 4,000 times more cubic energy than the air, and so the oceans are absorbing the sun radiation, heating up, and the life in the oceans are dying maybe at a faster rate than on land. But we're losing our oxygen.
Yep.
The trees are gone. They're dying, being burned up, and so our whole world is crashing. And somehow these psychopaths, not the front office, not the, they're just insane. They're drunk on blood, the front office, but in the back office, where we don't ever go or ever see them on television at the unseen hand headquarters, I guess they figure they can tough it out underground and generationally survive this thing somehow. I have no idea. Or maybe they miscalculated, and maybe their minions just did what they were told as good order takers, and basically committed Harry Carey, a kamikaze act on their own planet, and destroyed it, and good riddance, because I think we deserve everything we get for being so stupid.
Yeah.
And but the good news is this is not our world, and we have another place. So I'll try to finish off with a few more words because I'm losing my voice here. And we got Talmudim. The word Talmudim is one form, and it sounds like it's related to the Talmud. But remember, the words are not evil by themselves. They put good names on bad things to cover what they're about, And so Mattheim is another word that's also
just crashed.
Oh, but you may still be streaming, so just turn it back on.
It's reconnecting. It's reconnecting. Yep. Right. All good. All good. Hang on. Wait for the circle thingy to disappear. Yep. Please continue. Sorry, I didn't want anything to get missed while there was nothing happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's the word. The word disciple is a gloss. The word, when we read about his disciples, anybody that was following him was called the disciple, even if they just met him that day. And so the real word is not disciple, of course, but it is Talmudim, and I'll spell it, and Tao apostrophe Matham, Talmudim. And what it means is truth seeker. And so those who were following him, who were called disciples, in contrast with who we call apostles. Apostle is Malik. It's still the same word as as a royal messenger, Malikaim, the voice of the mother. The Talmudim, Tao apostrophe Matham. The Talmudim were the truth seekers. Okay, so that's how they of course destroyed the original. And so whenever somebody sees the word disciples in their scriptures and they're reading it, they can just replace it with truth seekers, because the people were tired of being lied to by the priesthood, and they simply wanted to know the truth. Sounds crazy, I know, but some people really do, and others want to follow those lies because they love those lies. They're so big and fun to follow about aliens, and I've never considered that they might be Aryans. Just change one letter, the R to the L. Aryan becomes alien.
I never considered that. I was convinced there was aliens, and I was convinced there was a devil, until I discovered your channel. Yeah,
right.
So,
well, it's a natural. It's a natural because we're coming from a basis of no foundation.
Yeah.
If you don't have a foundation, then you're kind of like hanging out in space, right?
Yeah. I had so many questions. Like, I was constantly finding so many answers, but there was still so many unconnected dots. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Like, I don't like saying this because I know it's the wrong words, but I just keep thinking of the saying, the devil is in the detail. You know what I'm getting at. And because the truth is so simple and pure. The devil is in the detail and the deception, and but there is no devil. Just so you know that I know that. Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting, and I'm winding down here because I know I'm having trouble talking. Is
Yeah.
when I was looking, let me cough. Hang on. Okay. Can you get a confirmation if we're still broadcasting? I'm getting hit up. Somebody said they're buffering.
Yeah, it was. There's a storm outside. There's a storm going around in circles. One of those ones with the the manufactured
Think
ones.
you cut us off? Think you were cut off?
Yeah, we were the OBS, like when I said that we should probably pause for a minute, the OBS cut out and then it came back and it was buffering a bit, but it's all good now. It's good now.
It's all good?
Yeah. It is.
All right. Well, look, without the certainty, because I got a message that.
Yeah, there's a delay. That's all. But on my end, it's fixed itself. Yeah. So it'll come good for everybody else shortly because there's a bit of a delay. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I've got a green line and no buffering.
Since I've lost my voice, Ninja, I've lost my voice right here.
Yeah,
why don't we just
that's
call
cool.
And I'll save parts for tomorrow or the next day when we're broadcast again.
That's cool. We've been going for an hour and a half, so. Or you've been going for an hour and a half, so. Thank you.
Alrighty. We'll close it out normally, just in case it's still broadcasting on the recorder and recording. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to share. I need to share, that the Father has given me a great download, and I just need to perform to be able to share. And so it's an opportunity. Other people want to know. There's good people out there that want to know, deserve to know how bad it is, and what the priority should be about connecting with the one who made all things.
Yeah.
And so they can go back home and be at peace and not be deceived, because life is important. All life is precious, even nature, the animals, all life wants to live, wants to survive with whatever they have been given as their portion in life. So let's make the most of it. And I'll look for your text. Let me know when we're good to go next time. You don't have to tell me now if you're not sure. And but I'll be ready to go tomorrow if you want to do it again. Okay.
Okay. What's today? Friday night. Yeah. All good. We can do it again in 24 hours or 22 and a half, 23, whatever it is.
All right.
If your voice, if your voice is like this, we can skip it though and do it the next night. I'm happy.
I get talked out. That's all.
Okay.
So I'll be good. I'll be good for tomorrow then. All right.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do
Until
this.
I can get back on broadcasting. I think it's important to do as much as possible on your channel to help people out. Right?
Yeah. I'm happy with that. Yep. All good.
All right, Ninja.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Peace and light.
Peace and light.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Dezert-Owl. If you can still hear me, thank you for joining, and I'll wind it down now. You've been listening to the Forbidden History Chronicles with NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series. We'll be here again same time tomorrow. I want to wish you all well, be safe, love you guys, and thank you for joining. I'm still getting used to the technology, so I'm just finding the button to turn the music on. Anyway, if you can still hear me, love you guys, and see you later.